Someone will come and say to me, but I don't have this problem with anyone else in my life, right? Nobody at work ever complains that I'm hard to talk to. I'm a great communicator. I do the best presentations. I know how to talk in meetings. Certainly I know how to speak up and chime in when, it's decision time. This is why we're talking about apples and oranges today. You know that saying, right? It's like apples and oranges. You can't compare those two things. So if you've ever said those words to your spouse, but I'm a great communicator, this video is for you. So like I was saying, work can be one place where we are convinced of that. Then it can be family, right? My family's never said anything like this to me. My friends, oh my gosh, my friends, they love me, and they would tell you I am a great listener, and I'm clear when I speak, and I am there for them, and I do all the things, right? I'm the friend that everyone wants and is jealous of the other people for having. You get me? So the story continues. Literally, no one's ever complained. So I know that I am not doing anything wrong. I don't know what his deal is, right? He has to learn, or he needs to communicate. He is the one that needs to figure this out. And by golly, he needs to stop telling me that I need to communicate better. All right. Now, don't be mistaken. I don't just hear this from the wives or from the husbands. I have plenty of husbands who tell me their iteration of the story, and it's essentially the same thing, right? How they are so great at work with this, how everything, goes smoothly always, how they don't ever have a problem with their buddies, and like having a good old time, right? When nobody says, oh my, you're a terrible communicator. And so we convince ourselves that there's no way that we have a problem, right? That there's no issue on our end. Except we forget this one part of the picture, that where you and your spouse are not business partners, well, unless you are, in which case then you are both business partners and marriage partners. But and then you need to navigate both and differentiate between the two, and you find a table where you deal with the business things, and then you find another table, so to speak, where you deal with the things like the marriage things, right? And because this is no small feat, most people will tell me they can't work together in the same business or for the same company, and that's not what you're likely experiencing, because the rules that apply to business communication don't necessarily apply when you're having a conversation with your wife or your husband on a random Wednesday night. If you are coworkers only, you're not going home together at the end of the night. You're not sleeping together in the same bed. You aren't woken up by the other person snoring 5 times during the course of 6 hours, right? You're not making a mess around the sink while brushing your teeth late at night for what seems like the 100th time this month. You're not needing to navigate dishes or laundry or kids or travel plans or airports together as a troop, right? You have a different kind of relationship. If you work together, the communication changes. As spouses, the communication, the talking of that, right? And the listening that requires, that changes. They're fundamentally different things. The impacts on a completely different level. It goes deep, right? It knows how to get under our skin in the way that no boss's conclusion at the end of the quarter ever does, good or bad. The expectations are different. So are the needs and the fallout, right? Like I was saying, apples and oranges. So you might very well be really good at communicating in your field of expertise while you are at work, and that says nothing about how you are able or unable to manage the conversations once you take your work hat off, so to speak, at the end of the night. Same thing happens with family and friends, right? And the question, do we know the difference? That's the question. The way we show up for family, the conversations that are held over a Thanksgiving meal, most often don't go very deep, right? The chances that you're going to have to show up without a mask, so to speak, and be real with your brother or your sister-in-law and talk like real money, or it's, you know, how it's running out or ruining you one way or another, or how to best raise your kids and the rules that they've been breaking and how maddening all that is, showing your family your actual heartbreak or your actual excitement, either way, not likely to happen, right? Most often it's a superficial conversation. We keep it where it's safe for good reason. Plus, you can bow out at any moment if the situation requires it, or the conversation sort of morphs into one of those subjects that you all know you shouldn't be talking about in the first place. So your ability to participate in said superficial conversation isn't that hard most of the time, right? As a result, none of us would ever complain, or rarely would, if not ever. Nobody would ever voice their concern about you not knowing how to raise your hand in a way that you learned, right, during that marriage seminar that you seem to be forgetting, or offer an actual apology without breaking all the rules. Now, insert your spouse here, right? Now picture that same conversation with your husband, with your wife. You not sleeping at night because your kids have been sneaking into your bed at 3 a.m. 7 days a week, feeling like you want to be pulling your hair out. The two of you making long-term financial decisions that will impact the rest of your lives. That's weighty, right? Needing to find, I don't know, common ground when it comes to the family eating habit, right? Habits or phone rules or whatever else you need to discuss. Like they land differently. There's more pressure because you actually need to make decisions. You can't just let it simmer until next Christmas, right? When we sit down for the meal together, well, you can't, right? We don't have that luxury. Your lives depend on it. So that's family. Now, same story with your friends, right? They don't ever need to, most of them anyway, call you out on being late because they just tolerate it. Or they don't, and then you stop seeing each other and it's not a problem because you're no longer friends. No need to point out what you're doing in a disrespectful way as you're telling your story, because they're there for you, right? They're there to take your side. More often than not, no conflict is actually happening, right? So of course, you have zero hard times sharing, showing up, and laughing or crying about all of life together, right? Do you see what I mean? Apples and oranges. And I'm not even arguing with you about you not being a good communicator with your coworkers, your boss, your parents, or your friends. I'm not. You might very well be that, but it still is a different kind of conversation, right? It's different skills that you're using in those conversations, and different ones that you're using when you talk with the one you picked, with the person that you married, with the one you love. So next time, when you hear yourself saying those words out loud, I don't have a problem with this anywhere else with communication. I invite you to come back to this and remind yourself. And remember that it's actually apples and oranges. And get help for your marriage and the communication that happens there if that's what it needs, if that's what you need. If this was helpful, I'll leave the links for another video or two where I dissect another relationship tip or talk about another communication tool. So check those out, and I'll see you in there.